finish the government funding appropriations process. And the Democrats tried to turn that into a game. Now, we're gonna give you the latest updates on that and where we think this is headed. But I just first want to address in a bit more detail the current state of our politics. It has been very interesting to us to see all the pundits trying to spin the results of the election on Tuesday. I just want to point out some simple facts here, and as usual, I try to be concise and give you the highlights here, but there's some things that we really need to point out. First, there were no surprises on Tuesday night, okay? You had blue states and blue cities that voted blue, to the alarm of no one, to the surprise of no one. That was what was expected. It just so happened that New York and New Jersey and Virginia were the states that were in the national spotlight on Tuesday. If the tables had been turned and if the calendar had been different and you had 3 red states, we'd have an entirely different narrative that you all would be writing about. Don't lose the simple facts. Second, the big headline that everyone is writing about appropriately is that the future of the Democrats was set in New York City. A 34-year-old Marxist is now the leader of the Democratic Party, and it is a very dangerous road for them to go down. I want to say this because a lot's been said about the Mamdani campaign. It is very easy to run and win as a socialist, right? All you do is promise everything to everyone for free. What a great message that is. Boy, that really resonates for people who don't study history. And while you're making all those promises, you hope that they never realize the trap that you're actually setting, the impossibility of fulfilling your fantastical claims and dreams, and the extreme danger and chaos that would result if you ever could. When you run as a socialist, you have to hope that they never understand that this will lead to the inevitable loss of their freedom, their opportunity, and their security, the loss of meritocracy and fairness in society, the loss of colorblindness, and the loss of emphasis on character, and the morality and the personal incentive and the common sense that we rely upon to keep a republic in operation. If you run as a socialist, you run on a big list of false claims. You promise everything to everyone and you can't deliver, and if you were ever able to deliver, it will be to the great detriment of the very people that you lured in to vote for you. Third fact about the election on Tuesday night is that the Democrats, and you all are not writing about this and you should be, not writing enough about it, the Democrats have now set themselves on a collision course in their own tent. If you look at Spanberger in Virginia and Sherrill in New Jersey, they tried to run as moderate pragmatists. That's how they self-described. But they will be no match for the coming communist wave taking over their party right now. The energy is on the side of the Marxists. Look no further than the top 2 Democrats here in Congress. We've noted this here every day. They had to bend the knee to the socialists. Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are both from New York. The top Democrat leader in the House and the top Democrat leader in the Senate, they couldn't get around that. And so Hakeem had to ultimately embrace it. He had to give the full blessing to Mamdani and his agenda, and he co-owns it. And Chuck Schumer flirted with it. He pandered all along. He flirted with that open endorsement till the better end, even though Mamdani is an activist against Israel and an anti-Semite. Chuck Schumer is the highest-ranked Jewish official in America, and even he couldn't bring himself to disclaim that. And as we've noted here every day, the sole reason for the entire federal government being shut down now, the sole reason for all the American people suffering all this pain and hardship is because of the fear of political retribution from the far-left activists who run the Democrat Party. That is the motivation for the shutdown. It's never been about any policy issue at all. It was only so that they could show a fight and try to show that they're tough to this rising far-left activist base in the party. The old guard has been repudiated, and the radicals are taking over the Democratic Party. We have evidence now every day. Yesterday, Jared Golden announced he would not be running for re-election in the state of Maine. He's a moderate, and he has no place in his party anymore. And then this morning, you saw the headline. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi has now announced her retirement this morning. That is a very important sign that I hope that you all will delve into. Even the famous San Francisco liberal is not far left enough for the neo-Marxists. We commend her for her services. We all do, everyone who serves in Congress, but there should be a lot written about that. Fourth point I just want to make in the aftermath of Tuesday is that off-year election results in isolated places are never indicative of the upcoming midterm election. Don't read too much into that. You shouldn't. If you do, you're going to miss it. The GOP is in excellent position to win big next year. And when I say I'm bullish about the midterms, we absolutely are, and there's a lot of reasons for that. This is not groundless optimism. It's based on facts. The reason we're in such a great position is because we are united. And while the Democrats engage in their emerging civil war, Republicans are going to continue to work and deliver for all the new voters that we brought into the party last fall in 2024. There was a true demographic shift in that election, as you know. Record number of Hispanic and Latino voters, Black and African American voters, Jewish voters, union workers, urban voters, young people. And while they say that there's this big swell of enthusiasm of young people based on what happened in New York City Tuesday night, I would give to you Exhibit A on our side. Maybe you're not noticing, but the Turning Point events at college campuses all around the country are setting records for attendance. You have hundreds of thousands of new young people weekly coming into the movement that are enthusiastic, young conservatives who are looking for truth, who believe in America's founding principles, and who want to be engaged. And they will be engaged in next year's midterms. The third reason is we got a very favorable map. You shouldn't miss this either. I was very bullish even before the current redistricting battles began. As we sit here today, there are 13 House Democrats sitting in districts that President Trump won. There's another 21 of them in districts he came within 5 points of winning. There's only 3, conversely, there's only 3 House Republicans sitting in districts that Kamala Harris won. That's a lopsided map. And after redistricting, we think we'll net a few more seats, handful, maybe 6 to 8. We're in very good position to make history and grow this majority. And finally, I'll just leave you with this. The reason we're so enthusiastic about running next year is we have a real record to run on. Mondami and Democrats want to talk about affordability. We love that subject. We love it. Look at the facts. I brought some this morning. It's the Republicans who are working every day to make life more affordable for working families. And it's not a talking point for us. We are delivering. After 4 long years of skyrocketing prices under the Biden administration, we had to take over. You don't flip a switch and reverse that overnight. It takes a while to work those policies out of the system and to get the new ones in. President Trump and Republicans are delivering results for the American people that they can see and feel. To date, we've seen core inflation is nearing its lowest level in 4 years. Gas prices have fallen to a 4-year low. Prices for everyday goods continue to decline, and blue-collar workers are seeing the largest increase in wage growth in nearly 6 decades. That's the result of our policies. In Congress, House Republicans are working hand in hand with President Trump to advance his affordability agenda. It is President Trump who ran on that. It's President Trump who's delivering on that. And we are all partners in that new effort to make America great again. It begins with the economy, and we know that. We're laser focused on making a difference in the lives of hardworking American families. Here's another demonstration, the Working Families Tax Cut. It is aptly named. It's the largest tax cut in U.S. history for working and middle-class Americans. You got Bernie Sanders running around, they're talking about the billionaires. It's not this. That's the opposite of the truth. Look at the facts. That bill was written for lower and middle-class earners, and they are the ones that will feel the positive effects going into next year. We included in that, as you know, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, real tax relief for seniors. These are the kinds of things that people feel, and they see that we're making good on our promises. We've made historic investments in American energy dominance to drive down the cost of gasoline and groceries. And we're grounding every decision we make in common sense. That's what we restored. That's what we ran on. That's what we're delivering. A return to common sense, not the woke progressive nonsense that they delivered for 4 years, not the spending like drunken sailors that drove cost up for everything with inflation. We're restoring common sense, fiscal responsibility. We're good stewards of taxpayer dollars, and we're refusing to cave right now, today, to the Democrats' wild demand to spend $1.5 trillion in new spending. That is taxpayer dollars, that's your money, that they want to spend to reopen the government. That's their counterproposal. That's why we're not having a negotiation with them. It's ridiculous. Included in the $1.5 trillion that they want to spend is $200 billion, almost $200 billion to restore health care benefits to illegal aliens. That is taxpayer money that they want to spend for that. They want to send billions of dollars back overseas for social programs in foreign countries. We're not doing that. They want to give $500 million back to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to prop up left-leaning news organizations. We're not doing that. And by the way, in the middle of all this, they want to cut $50 billion from the Rural Hospital Fund. They can't tell you they care about health care since they put that in their proposal. We're grounding every decision in common sense, and Democrats had their chance. When they controlled Washington, look at the history, don't forget it. This was just a year ago. You know what we inherited? They left us with a 40-year high inflation, higher taxes and energy prices, and massive instability around the world. And what did they do in June of this year? This is the most recent history no one can forget. They voted against no tax on tips. They voted against no taxes on Social Security. They voted against a larger child tax credit. The Democrats in the House and Senate voted against lower energy prices, against more American manufacturing and jobs, and against lowering health care premiums by 12%. That provision, the cost sharing reduction provision, was in the House version of the Working Families Tax Cut, the big beautiful bill. We sent it over to the Senate, and they worked to strike it out of the bill. Ask the Senate Democrats about that. Right now, they've created another mess. They've created a mess for America with this pointless government shutdown. The Democrats will tell you that they're feeling emboldened. They're feeling emboldened because they had a few blue state election results. It does not change the fact that they have walked their party off a cliff with no parachute and no path forward. The reason we're stuck right now is because of one simple fact. If they vote to reopen the government, the Senate Democrats are afraid that the radicals in their party will say that they caved. They're afraid of the retribution that will come from that. But if they keep the government shut down, they know very well, as we all do, that millions of Americans will continue to suffer as essential services remain unfunded and paychecks to federal workers continue to stay stalled. So our question for Democrats this morning is this: which constituency matters more? The loud radicals in your party or the hardworking American people? I can tell you which side the Republicans are on. 15 times we voted for the hardworking American people. And 15 times so far, the Democrats in Congress have voted for the radicals in their party. It is unconscionable to us that they've allowed it to go on this long. And at some point, all you can do is pray that common sense prevails. And that's what I've been doing a lot of. We hope and pray that there are still Democrats out there. There's just a handful. We need 5 more votes. 5 centrist, common sense Democrats in the Senate to come to those senses and do the right thing. It's time for them to put their country first. I'm delighted to introduce the next speaker, and he's a congressman from Miami. He's a former mayor of the county down there, and he has been in charge. He served as a police officer, but he was the chief of the fire department down there. I mean, the guy's resume is longer than almost anybody in Congress, and as a son of a firefighter, I always take personal delight in reminding everybody he's the only career firefighter paramedic in Congress. He's doing a great job, and he serves as vice chairman of the Republican Governance Group, one of our largest and most active caucuses I mentioned, and we're truly grateful to have him here to discuss some of these consequences of the government shutdown.